Hello and welcome to this view from the ADB. I'm Kimberly Long, Asia Editor at The Banker, and I'm speaking with Tomoyuki Kimura, who is Director General of Strategy, Policy and Partnerships at the ADB. Thanks for joining me.
My pleasure.
So to start with, this is the first time that the ADB has been back in person again since 2019 when we were in Fiji. How has the economic outlook for the region changed in that time?
The outlook for developing Asia has actually brightened as the region reopens from the pandemic, and the region will remain resilient despite tight global financial condition because of still high inflation in Europe and US, and then recent banking sector turmoil. So the growth in the region is projected to rise from 4.2% in 2022 to 4.8% in 2023 and 2024. And also inflation is projected to decline to 4.2% in 2023 and further down to 3.3% in 2024. And faster than expected growth in China is actually upside the risk for the outlook, but the challenge still remains. So number one, the higher interest rate and debt are actually heightening the financial stability risk in the region, and also we continue to challenge the economies with weaker economic fundamentals. And second, slower than expected disinflation in advanced economy could prompt persistent monetary policy tightening and weakening currencies and raising the risk of excessive capital outflow. And lastly, prolonged and even escalated Russia's invasion in Ukraine could rekindle inflation and then food security challenges in the region.
And at the ADB this year, there's been such a strong focus on the environment and sustainability. But also with the ADB, there's so much investment and projects that go towards infrastructure, for example. How does the ADB balance supporting this environmental challenge, but also helping to support economies build their infrastructure projects?
Well, the Asia and the Pacific region actually generate around like half of the global greenhouse emissions, while the region is very vulnerable to climate change. So this fight against climate change in the region will be, won or lost. So therefore, ADB is stepping it up to play the central role in helping our developing member countries address the climate change. So first of all, our climate finance operations, we recently increased our ambition to $100 billion cumulative basis until 2030. About at least one third will go to climate adaptation project, and 12 billion will go to private sector climate change project. And this 12 billion, we expect to further mobilize additional $30 billion private capital. Last year, we provided $6.7 billion climate finance, and this year we are trying to ramping up to even exceed $8 billion. So that's number one. And number two, we're committed to fully align our entire operation with Paris Agreement starting July this year. And the third, we have launched a very innovative initiative to ramp up a climate finance and mobilize private capital. One of them is ETM, Energy Transition Mechanism. So this is a very innovative financing facility to mobilize particularly private capital to help our developing member country shut down, decommission coal-fired power plant earlier, and then accelerate shift toward the clean energy solutions. Another innovative solution, we call it IFCAP, which was actually launched yesterday here in Incheon. It's a very innovative financing platform to enable us to increase our lending capacity for climate change by $15 billion by leveraging donors' guarantee contribution. And lastly, at the COP27, we launched so-called Just Transition Support Platform. So this is to provide the technical assistance support to our developing member countries for their capacity building to strategically plan, implement, and finance their Just Transition program.
And to move on to the final point now, so you've already touched on the impact of the war in Ukraine and what could possibly happen there if there's any escalation. How is the impact of that war and also geopolitical issues around Asia and trade tensions impacting on the economy of the region overall?
So for our history of 55 years, we have actually helped foster, friendship and stability among countries in the Asia-Pacific region, particularly through our regional cooperation initiatives. And from this experience, we learned that political stability and the security is a really important basis for development, peace, and the prosperity everywhere. And definitely geopolitical tension, increase uncertainty in the region, addressing various development challenges. This inclusive growth, climate change, and also we still have a very fragile and poor country like small islands and conflict-affected countries. So ADB really needs are stepping our support to those fragile and vulnerable countries through our grant operation, trying to expand our overall lending headroom, and particularly ramping up our climate finance, and also helping countries mobilize more domestic resources.
Tomoyuki, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you very much.